Hello F11 members, and welcome to part 2 of the fundamentals of post-production for issue 21, October 2013. Right, what I'd like to do now is take you through the processing of a picture I shot just a week ago on Exmo, right from the start to finish. Now if you look at this image here, the raw image of a misty morning there on Exmoor with the Bristol Channel beyond, you can see it was a beautiful morning, but that image as is just looks totally flat, uninspiring. However, it was a beautiful sight, and it's always easier to put contrast back into a picture. So we're going to work to really extract the best I can from this particular picture. You can see there's an interesting cloud in the sky, although at the moment it's virtually lost. It's not burnt out, but it's not really much of an impact at all. But we can do something about that. So first thing I do, as normal, is start here, okay, not touching the color balance of the image as shot, daylight. First thing I want to do, as always, adjust my black and my white points. Up here on the right, the histogram, you can see it's a fairly low contrast image, so just by altering the black point here and the white point here, I can make a difference to the contrast of the picture. Still too bright, still lacking punch. And what I'm going to do with this particular image, as we did last month with the image from Yangon in Burma, is make two different raw conversions from this same one image. One for the sort of lower part of the frame and one for the sky, and put them together in Photoshop. So right now what I'm looking at is just the landscape. So what I want to do is bring back the density and the contrast in that part of the image. Actually, I'm just going to do that a slightly different way than normal. Let's go back to linear there. In fact, I'm going to go medium contrast, okay? So let's put a bit of contrast into the image. Still too bright. I'm going to go up here and use the exposure slider and just slide it back. I'm ignoring the top of the frame, just looking at that bottom portion of the frame until I've got the kind of bottle or punch that I want for that part of the image. I think about that looks about right. I'm going to put some sharpening in here. There you go. And if I come down here now, if I hold down Alt and slide the masking over, that shows me how much masking I want to put on the image, and I'd go for something about that. The point of that being, we don't want to sharpen images where there are no hard edges to sharpen in the first place. Okay, I'm going to put just a touch of vibrance in there, about that, and just a touch of clarity, hardly any really. Just looking at that bottom portion of the picture there, I'm quite happy with that. So now I'm going to export that. Let's just go to export, and I'm going to put in a subfolder called Exmo. Okay, when you're doing this, it's always, even if you've been working with raw images recently, it's best to just double check all your settings, because it's easy to be working away and realizing that you're exporting them as low resolution JPEGs, which means going back and doing them again. So all my settings fine there. TIFF, Pro Photo RGB color space, 16-bit bit depth, resolution 300 dpi, not resizing the picture, and that's it. So I'm going to export that, and now I'm going to come back and look at this picture again, and now I really am concerned with just the sky. So ignoring the bottom portion of the image, I'm gonna first of all just bring this slider right back until the sky has got the kind of impact I want. Something like about that, I reckon. Looks good to me. Okay, So now everything else can stay pretty much as it is. I'm going to take the vibrance out actually, because I find when you darken a sky down, it's very easy for the blue in the sky to look too lurid. Take the clarity out as well. I'm just going to tweak my whites a bit because I need the white in the cloud to look a pure white. And that's pretty good there. We can fine tune it in Photoshop, of course. So now I'm just going to go library, export, and that's done. And so now what I'm going to do is just pause you for a second, and I'll come back to you in Photoshop. Okay, so welcome back. I've got both of those raw conversions open now in Photoshop. You can see up here. So I'm going to go Window, Arrange, and Tile, 2 up vertical, so that the two are displayed next to each other. Just go Control minus to bring down the size so I can see them at the right size alongside each other. And as we did last month, I go to the darkest image here. I'm going to go select all and then edit, cut, go to the other, select the other image, edit, paste. So what we have now is the dark image pasted on top of the light image as a layer. So the first thing I'm going to do now is close that image because we're finished with it, and just bring up the size a touch, not quite that much. And what I do now is select, and with the lasso tool I'm just going to draw, and again this can be altered, it's not etched in stone, a line here where I think the sort of join between the two images is going to be, and I'm going to feather that. And if you come up here, select, modify, feather, and I want a feather radius of quite a soft edge, so I'm going to say 300 pixels. There again, this can be modified later, so you know nothing is we're not committed to anything. And now if I come up here, I go layer, layer mask, and reveal selection. And there you have the dark top, the light image showing through now with the dark on top, because the bottom of the image is masked, of the dark image is masked. If I bring over here for you now the layers palette, you can see what I mean. What we have here, that's the dark layer. If I click on and off the eye, it indicates the layer visibility. So that visibility of the layer is switched off now. Switch it back on, and here's the background layer, and you can see that soft feathering I've got across that edge there. So now I look at this picture and I think, well, does it look right as is? What do I need to do? Do I need to modify that join? And actually it's done it pretty good. I don't really think I could improve on that. There's a nice gradation, it looks relatively natural. What I'm going to do now then is just fine tune the individual layers, and I'm going to go to the top layer and just work on this sky a little bit. And if I go image adjustments, curves here, and wait just one sec, there is my curves palette, and I'm going to just alter the curves on the top layer, the darker layer. First of all, if I click show clipping, and if I just alter my white point here, I can come in a fair way until you see those red bits start to indicate that I'm clipping my highlights. So I can come in that far without losing any information. So if I unclip that show clipping and click on and off the preview, you can see the effect it's had. It's lightening the sky, but you see the sky without that adjustment is just a bit muddy, you know. and so with that on it, it just crisps it up. I just want to also bring back the darkness a bit as well, so something like about that. You can go too far, for example that, it's much too much. The clouds do, you know, have a lot of impact like that, but the image itself just looks overcooked. I'm going to do this in a few stages actually to really try and bring out the best in this sky, because that cloud is what I saw when I was shooting this. You know, I deliberately included this wonderful towering cloud with that streak through the sky. Compositionally it's very powerful. Click on and off the preview and the picture's coming to me now. Okay, so I'm going to go click OK on that, and now I'm going to go to the select tool here, and I'm just going to select the top, the brighter part of the image. Again, not too accurately. I can feather that selection, and I'm going to use one of my actions over here. Here you see this feather. If I press on play there, that feathers that selection without me having to go through this select modify feather command. It just speeds up my workflow. Okay, now I'm going to go image adjustments, curves again, and just tweak that top part of the sky a bit more. Now I just want to, actually what I'm going to do, bring in the dark point a touch, which will have the effect of enhancing the contrast. Darken that down. I can go too far, it's going to look too much. I reckon about that is right. What do you reckon? When you consider where we started, it's looking pretty good, and the sky is crucial to this picture, and I'm pretty much happy with that now. So if I go select, deselect, now what I want to do is go to the background layer, and this is the bottom part of the image, the landscape. Again, I'm going to fine tune the curves here. So do I have any scope for adjusting white points without losing information? And you can see if I move this in here, I can bring in the white point just a touch before I start losing some information down here. Just preview that. Very subtle, that adjustment, but all of these things do add up over the course of the post-production process to really bringing out the best in the picture. Okay, I'm pretty much happy with that. I'm just gonna put a touch of an S curve into this just to put a touch of contrast in that, and I'd say that looks pretty good, and I'll go with that. And really at that stage I would have to say I'm pretty happy with that picture. What do you think? What I'm going to do now is go back to the raw, and we'll compare where we started and where we're at, so you can see what progress has been made. So here we have the two images side by side. The raw image, untouched, nothing done to it, and the finished TIFF that we've merged the two conversions to make. And you can see is quite a difference. The thing is, what I'm doing when I shoot a picture like this is, I've said this so many times before, I'm exposing to record as much information as possible. If that information is there in the sky, in the landscape, we have the potential with subtle post-production to bring it out. We're not making something that didn't exist, we're just representing the tonal information that's in the image already with as much impact as possible. And I think that when I'm stood there by the tripod making this kind of picture, I'm thinking through this whole process right from the start. That's the key, to look at the image and think what needs to be done, not play aimlessly hoping to stumble across a solution. So there you go. I'm pretty happy with that picture, and we're going to carry on with our fundamentals of post-production tutorials, taking you through right through this workflow. so that hopefully you just build up a feel for how you can use it to your own advantage. See you next month, F11 members. Thank you.